In this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips to climb on Lifeweaver. I've been getting asked a ton to make this video, so I'm going to do my best to try to help you guys and steer you in the right direction. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and check me out on Twitch where we post a lot of support gameplay and guides. Before I get started on this video, I just want to say that it's not going to be one of those videos where I just give you the base level information about all of his abilities. Instead, this will be a little bit more of an advanced guide where I give you tips that you can apply to any single scenario. With that being said, here's tip number 1. Tip number 1 is going to be making sure that you actually weave DPS with your healing. I hear so many people say in this game that Lifeweaver's damage is terrible. And honestly, I'm probably going to have to agree with them, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be trying to do damage still. So here's the best way to get out damage as much as possible. Obviously, any situation where it's pre-fight and the fight's just about to begin, I'm always looking to do damage because most likely nobody on your team is going to need healing at that time. During fights is where it gets a little more important. When these fights are playing out and you see nobody on your team really needs a ton of healing, even if your tank is at like 80% HP, I like switching to DPS and applying pressure, and here's why. Healing Blossom automatically reloads after 2.5 seconds when Thorn Valley is in use. So to simplify that, if you're not familiar with ability names, your healing will reload for you while you are doing damage. So with that knowledge, this will actually give you the opportunity to not have to reload during fights, which is huge. So just some random example. If I go into a fight and use 8 of my Healing Blossoms, and then switch to DPS and wait for it to reload again, I will go back to my Healing Blossom with a fresh 20 instead of being down to 12. And by doing this, you gave yourself non-stop value instead of having to stop and take the time to reload when you didn't even have to take the time to reload to begin with. Making that adjustment will help with pick potential, gaining ult charge quicker, and will all around just give you more value as a whole when you're playing Lifeweaver. So make that adjustment and be more proactive with your DPS and avoid unnecessary reloads. One last thing with this strategy, and it is very important to note, you do actually reload 1 second quicker when executing the reload animation. So if you ever are in a situation where you do think healing is very, very important and everybody's critical, it does make more sense to just reload your gun and get that healing out 1 second quicker. So just make sure you're paying attention to that and understand that all situations are different. Alright, and tip number 2 is going to be your ultimate usage. There are actually tons of ways to get value with Lifeweaver's ultimate. I ask myself one simple question though when I'm about to use my ult. If I use this, is it going to save somebody? It doesn't matter if it saves me, if it saves my tank, if it saves my other support. As long as it saves somebody, it's worth it to me. I see a lot of people use tree as sort of an engage tool, and there may be a few scenarios where you can justify that, but I don't really love doing it that way. When you use Lifeweaver's tree, it does an instant 150 healing. So if you use tree as an engage tool, you are also removing the burst healing from the ult. And when a lot of teams see a tree come out early, the smarter teams will just disengage and back up from that tree. So to me, it would actually make more sense to engage, utilize the burst healing on top of it, and have the tree uptime last longer during the fight. But again, to me, it all boils down to one thing. Did my tree help save somebody? If you answer that question with a yes, that's a good tree to me. There's been plenty of times where I've used trees solely just for myself, and it would keep me alive, and ultimately we just end up winning those fights. And also understand, when a Lifeweaver throws his tree down, there's a good chance your teammates are just going to gravitate to that tree regardless. Now here's actually the more important tip when using Lifeweaver's ult. You actually have the ability to break Lifeweaver's tree. Why is that important, you might ask me? That is important because if your tree already got its value, just break it so you can start farming your next one. There's been times where I've used tree, I've let it sit up for actually 3 seconds and broke it just to farm the next one. I do this because I already feel like my tree got its value, and in most cases, if you see you're winning a team fight and you just break it, you're gonna win the fight whether the tree is there or not. And here's the upside to doing this. I'm not kidding when I tell you that I've used trees before, felt like we've won the fight and broke it, and by the end of that team fight, once we finish cleaning up, I'm already 40% back to my next tree. If you've played Lifeweaver for more than 10 minutes, you know you farm ult insanely fast. On top of that, if you can just make this adjustment, you can easily get an extra 2 trees per game. So to be good at this, you have to work on your awareness. Just pay attention to the kill feed, pay attention to the flow of the fight, and the second you feel like that tree is no more value to you, just move on from it. I think being able to do this consistently and successfully is what separates a good Lifeweaver player from a great Lifeweaver player, in my opinion. And tip number 3 is going to be positioning. I think Lifeweaver is one of those heroes that plays very well from a distance and actually playing kind of separated from your team. And there are plenty of reasons why I think this way. Reason 1 is going to be the pretty obvious reason, I guess, and that's your DPS has no damage fall off. So it doesn't matter whether I'm 1 meter away or 100 meters away, my damage numbers always stay the same. I also think Lifeweaver is a very good off-angle hero. All off-angling is just taking a different position from where your team is playing, that way the enemy team is getting shot from 2 different directions. You're able to do this because Lifeweaver is so hard to kill, and like I said, pretty much his entire kit is pretty long range, so you can kind of get away with playing away from your team. Also, Healing Blossom has a pretty long range on top of that as well. It goes up to a max range of 30 meters, which is a decent bit of distance. So this just gives you more and more reason to not play extremely aggro. And here's the most important tip of why you should be separated from your team most of the time. If you are playing stacked on top of your team, you are pretty much giving yourself no good opportunities to perform a good life grip. Life grip is such a good ability because you are removing a teammate from the danger. But if you positioned yourself in the danger to begin with, you can't pull anybody out of danger because you're keeping them in the same exact place they were already in. So pretty much Lifeweaver's entire kit gives you the opportunity to be separated from your team. He has the mobility for it, he has the health for it, he has the range for it as well. So just trust his kit. A lot of mid-elo players or low elo players normally think when they're isolated and away from the team that they're making some sort of mistake. But as long as you're managing Lifeweaver's cooldowns properly, I wouldn't be too worried about it most of the time. And if it is problematic, just make an adjustment and use common sense. So just to summarize that, play separated when you can because your entire kit gives you the opportunity to. Lifeweaver has tons of survivability in his kit. You just have to learn how to use it and trust yourself. I'm going to add one last extra bonus tip here also. When you are positioning away from your team, do everything you can possible to always have a pre-pedal placed down. When you have a pedal placed and ready to go, and you have another one available for use, it's going to give you so much more survivability. So just be proactive about placing pedals pre-fight. Alright guys, and that's all I have for this video. I didn't really want to make a video where I just kind of held your hand and told you what every single ability does. I kind of wanted to go a little more in depth, and I just hope that helped you in some way. Again, if you guys enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and also check me out on Twitch where we play a ton of Lifeweaver. If you guys have any questions regarding this video, feel free to ask down in the comments below. Again, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for being here, and I hope you have a good one. See you later.